What up? Where my tea party at? Where's everybody at? Where's everybody at? First person that sees Les. What up, Les? Sydney, what up? Tandai Malcolm, what up, man? Bree, first in the comments. What up, sis? How's everybody doing? Gladys, Sydney, Dave. Providence, what up? Yeah, man, everything blessed. What up, people? We're the Tea Party. We're the bastions of common sense. Today is the morning after. Diana, what up? How's everybody doing? Maury, what's happening? Valencia's here. Tino's here. Promise is here. Chris Smiler, what up, man? Yo, Chris, I saw your video in Manchester, man. Pretty place. Pretty place. 43 people watching. Liz, what up? My big bro Kuda and the AP, Farah in the AP. The morning after. The morning after the morning. Zimbabwe. What up, peeps? Let's start. Today's a public holiday. Today we commemorate our last dictator, his birthday. Today we're drinking white tea. I know I shouldn't. I should be drinking green tea, but you know, I needed some comfort drink. Today we commemorate our last dictator, Robert Mugabe. It's his birthday. They made it a public holiday. So here we are. Yesterday, Morgan Tsvangirai was laid to rest. Magnificent sight. Thousands of people came to commemorate what is a hero to them. What many start to say is the Bayon of democracy. We now have a new word in our vocabulary, Bayon of democracy. That was Morgan Tsvangirai. And now that the man is in the ground, I think we can now talk. We can now talk and be more analytical about the things that were happening for this man to then be put into the ground. You know, ladies and gentlemen, it's very, very, very difficult. The things that I saw in the last few days, I cannot explain to you how incredibly complicated the situation in Zimbabwe and in African politics is. Now, I apologize, see, because I'm about to swear a whole lot and I can hear my daughter in the background, so let me close the door.
Sorry.
So, Tea Party Melbourne, what up, TK? Incredible things happened in the last few days, ladies and gentlemen. And I thought for those who have not been following the events, what I will do is I will break them down slowly and systematically as verbatim news items. However, I'm going to give you my take on some of these things. Now, this is my own personal opinion. I hold no opinions for anybody else. And I definitely feel like I'm conflicted in the way that I'm feeling currently. So I must make sure that some things are out of the way first. First of all, some of you may be joining us for the first time. I use very strong language sometimes. Forgive me. If you don't like the words fuck or can't, please fuck off. This is not your channel today. Go and watch something nice. Number two, do not come into my inbox and threaten my life because I have a different opinion to yours. This intolerance that Zimbabweans are getting now is becoming pretty tiring. I'm different to some of these other clowns. See, if you threaten my life and I can find you, I'll fucking do you something. I'm different from these other guys. I'm not nice. So let me just make that clear. I'm tired of the threats. What should have been a very, very, very simple situation where a president of a party dies. The party constitution kicks in. The people take over that are supposed to take over constitutionally. And things move on and we bury the icon, the icon of Made for Many. A man who had many followers. We saw evidently at Freedom Ground. But what should have been very simple was overly complicated. by a mixture of very, 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 very weird things. Very, very weird things. A mixture, cacophony of stupidity. First of all, our generation is fucked. Our generation is fucked. You see, go and find your activists, in quotation marks. See their selfie-seeking, loving asses. See, they're the same niggas who at ED's commemorations taking selfies. They're the same niggas who go to funerals and take selfies, you see, because they want to, they believe purely by proximity, they assimilate power. You see, it's ironic how many of these so-called activists who've done nothing for the struggle at all, bar what I do, which is rant, make it to the big tent when the rest of the povo are sitting in the rainy crowds. I want you to judge these people harshly, ladies and gentlemen. These hypocrites. Judge these hypocrites harshly. And go on their timelines, because the internet doesn't forget, and find everything they said about Morgan Tsvangirai before he died, and then juxtapose it. Juxtapose it with the things they said after he died. And I know Auntie Wafawa Naka, but some of these comrades of mine are fucking hypocrites. And I find their wishy-washiness retarded. So go on their timelines and watch and look at their selfies, ladies and gentlemen, at the graveside, and look at their selfies in the big tents as they smile and gloat about billions of democracy. And then they should ask themselves, who the fuck elected you? Who the fuck elected you? Because if democracy had it, most of these people would hang you. I found that distasteful, ladies and gentlemen, which is why I kept myself in the background. You see, I'm guilty of it too, but not like them. I'm guilty. I'm a part of this self-aggrandizing, self-seeking, self-gloating generation. I am a part of that. And for that, I apologize. I apologize if I've helped perpetuate that ignorance and that fuckery. I apologize if I've been a part of that megalomania, that self-serving, self-seeking, self-promoting, without any merit generation that goes and sits in the high tent when the real people are sitting in the cold and the rain. You see, when I went to Freedom Square, I noticed one thing. Everybody who was in the crowd, and there were thousands of people, thousands upon thousands, wearing their red shirts, red helmets, red caps, red bandanas, red dukus, you name it. I realized quickly how distant we are as the internet serving generation from the people who didn't actually come out on the street to blow their horns and actually sing the songs and the slogans of some of the opposition parties. We're very, very distant. We're very, very distant. You see, as I still stood in that crowd, tempted by all means to go and sit in the high tent with my other selfie-seeking, self-serving generation, I decided not to. Just like I decided not to go to the ED commemoration. You see, unfortunately, I'm bugged with conscience. So first thing that we're going to do today, guys, is go on their timelines and rebuke them for some of the things they used to say and then some of the things that they said. See, some of these people have no spines, and some of these people one day are going to ask you for their vote, for your vote on for something, because they all believe they deserve to be in your leadership. They all believe they deserve to be in the high tents without doing anything. I want you to judge them harshly, ladies and gentlemen, because that's the democracy we want. They must agree to be judged as harshly as they have been judging others on their timelines. I want you to go to their selfies and say, we see you taking selfies at funerals. We see you. Because that's distasteful. And that's part of the big problem that I saw. You see, because of these devices that we have, more information is moving at lightning speed. Right? Information is moving at lightning speed. It didn't take the man to die within 10 minutes. I had information after information after information on my phone. And the information was a combination of fake news, a combination of real news, a combination of propaganda, and so forth. And there was a lot of it that was going around. You see, the first person who was vilified in all this process, the first person, and this started on Mutuma Mawere's interview with Colin Tsvangirai and some of the other leadership, was Elizabeth Tsvangirai, the wife of Morgan Tsvangirai. Now, the sad thing for me is I didn't find out about the death of Morgan Tsvangirai from the regular way. You see, I had another point of contact. See, Elizabeth's daughter and my daughter, my eldest daughter, are friends. They've been in school together since very young, since they were bishops in their primary school. So it was around 2 p.m. on the day that he died when I got a message from my eldest daughter saying, "Oh, shame, Dad, Musa's dad just passed." So that was my first contact with finding out. So that's the layer of tragedy that I was dealing with. See, the reasons why we went to Batamawoko was not for us to then go and sit with the activists and the other cadres in the parties, no. It was actually taking my 15-year-old daughter to go be with a friend who's been to my house for sleepovers, and a friend who, the house I've dropped my daughter off for sleepovers before. And this was the struggle, because I could see the layer of tragedy, because my friend's mother was now being vilified as a fornicator, as a gold digger, and so forth. When I can tell you one thing, the amount of times I met that woman, the amount of times I've entrusted that woman with the care of my daughter, she's been nothing but a good woman to me. She's been nothing but a good woman to my daughter. So reading some of that misogynistic, horrible crap that was coming out about this woman to try and vilify her, I think was a tragedy. It was an absolute tragedy, some of the things that were being said about Elizabeth Tsvangirai. And I think anyone who shared that vitriol and bullshit needs to be ashamed of themselves. Because, see, Zimbabwe does this. When men pass away, right, the women then bear the brunt of the bullshit. Now, it's not her fault that I'm sure she was sitting minding her own business and the old man came up to her and said, "I really like you." You know, the old man had jokes. He was charming. He had charisma. Shit, I mean, most women would have fallen for that kind of nigga because he also had power. He was also a prime minister. I mean, they also probably had a bit of money. Let's not take away from the many layers of reasons why people engage in relationships. But he, without sin, fucking cast the first stone for God's sake. When did we lose our morals as a generation for us to be vilifying a young mother? A woman who stood by that man even when that man was really, really sick. I mean, damn, she's fine, my nigga. She could have gone at any time. Shit, no one would have blamed her. I mean, considering how many times that nigga fucked around, I mean, he got kids out there. He had other kids out there. You know, we all know the real stories behind the nigga. But she stood by that guy. How did she end up becoming the villain of the situation? I found it very sad. I found it very sad that the family of the late Morgan Tsvangirai were so impoverished still, despite the amount of access that the late great Morgan Tsvangirai had himself. That his brother Colin, for example, is still rogering in Warren Park, which makes him easily susceptible to being bribed, to being bought, and to being manipulated. Because I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, the love of money is the root of all evil. When I witnessed that family being played, people like Mutunga Mawere should be ashamed of themselves. When I witnessed that family being paid and brought into party politics for no apparent reason. You see, they played a part in even indoctrinating an old woman, an old gogo, who has now become the butt of our jokes. He's become the butt of our jokes. An old woman, an old gogo. I want you to think about that. As you go through your WhatsApp messages and see some of these messages about a woman where people are sending around rope and sending around things to tell her to go hang herself. Now, an old woman of that era, if she's being told that your daughter-in-law has been sleeping with the other guy, of course she doesn't want, of course she'll come out there angry and say, this woman here killed my daughter, killed my son. Of course, she was being manipulated. What information does Gogo have? She's not on the internet, ladies and gentlemen. She was yet another victim. So I'm telling you about some victims right now. I'm telling you about the children who are left behind. The children. My daughter's friend. Left behind. With an uncertain future. Because when their mother was looking after their stepdad in South Africa, their relatives were in the house trying to take all the stuff. Trying to take all the things. Two police had to step in. That to me is a tragedy. That they were going to take the stuff. So you got the children who have an uncertain future. You have the wife of the man, right? Who now has to live with the stigma of the things that are being said about her. It doesn't matter whether they're true or not. Because history will not judge on the things that you people have written on the internet. Now we have a gogo who's now become the butt of millennials' jokes on the internet. That's another victim. Thokozani Kupe then goes to the funeral. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't condone some of the manipulation of the family that happened. I don't condone it. And I think this is now people using their last clutches of a dying horse to try and grab some sort of power and relevance. Going to get the body in South Africa, coming back, manipulating the family, and then coming to the funeral. So you understand that the fellowship, the followership, the membership of MDC are now infuriated. They're now infuriated. But it doesn't condone the fact that when the elected deputy president of the MDC arrived at the funeral, she was stoned and hit with umbrellas and put in a hut. And according to reports, niggas were trying to burn the hut down. And when you see the videos of the dudes who are doing this, these are people wearing regalia. Now, I can't verify whether they're MDC or not. But what I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, is the deputy president of the MDC was stoned and beaten. Stoned and beaten at the funeral of a man she worked with for damn near 26 years. What are these young men who are doing this to a woman, a mother? What were they thinking? Is this what our generation has descended to? Because I could see that these were 18 to 25-year-old young men. There were young men who were stoning this poor woman. Stoning their Secretary General, Drug Manzura, who has come to a funeral to bury a cardinal. Now, whether they got on or not before his death, that's irrelevant. You see, me and my brother fight a lot. Me and my friends fight a lot. You know, I'm in a situation where me and Lumumba sometimes really argue and fight a lot. But God damn it, if I die, let the nigga come and bury me. Let him pay his last respects. Without fear or fervor. This should be an opportunity for us to show our Africanness. Then you motherfuckers wear kentes and fucking dashikis and go and celebrate fucking Black Panther. And then you're proud to be African? That made me sad to be African. To see that kind of disgraceful behavior happening to elected leaders of the party. As my activist friends took selfies. And they took fucking selfies. See, where was the outrage activist? Where was the standing in front of that and saying, no, this is outrageous. I want to be an activist for women's rights and not against violence against other people. No to violence. Where were they at this point? Gone, they're all, some of them today, and they're placating it, you see. They're part of the spin machine. They're trying to make sure that you forget what the people were doing in the name of Chamisa. See, don't forget. Refuse to forget. Now, I've always said to you guys that I'm a supporter of a generational change. Now, I know that seems myopic. And I didn't sleep last night. My eyes are red as shit. I couldn't at all sleep because I found myself in this weird quagmire of thought. See, do we just support people because they're young? Do we just say, because these people are young, we support them? I realize that even in my own youth, there's a lot that I have to learn. There's a lot that we have to learn, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot that we have to learn. You see, I was ecstatic when I saw Nelson Chamisa at Freedom Ground. I think he's got the right language skills. I think he's got the right people skills. I think he's got the right charisma. I think he's been in government before as a minister of ICT, and he did some good work in ICT. I think as a man I know, as a man I've shaken hands with, I've been to his rallies, he's been very hospitable to me as a man. I am arguably a fan of Chamisa. A big fan of Chamisa. But now I know that Chamisa does not necessarily control the elements around him. You see, as a fan of Chamisa, I had to sit back and say, you know what? Some of this hero worship sycophantism that's happening right now, this hero worshiping that's happening, and some of the behaviors that people are doing, you know, the stoning of the deputy president, the infighting, some of the fake news articles that are now being churned out and written. See, I know Nelson Chamisa had nothing to do with those particular things. See, a lot of those things were done in his name by people who support him. See, when does this change? When do I accept that as a notion? That the man himself did a power grab, grabbed the power. See, this is politics. I understand political plays. I totally get political plays. But at what point does he become responsible as a leader for the actions of the people who speak in his name? This is the defining moment of his leadership. Is he going to be the Bayon of democracy and tolerance? Is he going to be the leader that we want, who's going to forward Zimbabwe into a space where people can come to these gatherings and not be stoned and beaten? Is he going to stand up for the downtrodden? Is he going to be the better man and say, you know what happened to Thokozani Kupe was fucked up. I'm embarrassed by it. These people behaved in my name and we're going to deal with it decisively. Is he going to get some of those youths that we know who they are because we could see their the faces on the videos? Some of them were taking the videos themselves. Is he going to do a decisive thing and actually get rid of them? Because I can tell you what, the Charlton Wendes, the people who were initially in charge of beating up Thokozani Kupe the day of the Alliance launch. See, those guys were placated. They were given little sentences and they were brought back. They all were in the high tent this past week. They were all part of the process. The same guys who beat her up before were still there. You see, this is why she could be beaten up again. Because the people who beat her up the first time were forgiven. They're back in the structures. You see, this is not the leadership we want. If people are going to be purporting violence within the political systems, we want to get rid of them completely. So we hope President Chamisa does this. We hope that he finally sees the rotten apples, the people who are so ZANU-fied in their behavior that they're bringing us back to an old paradigm of politics. And we're tired of the ZANUification of politics. We're tired. Valencia says he has already spoken about the violence yesterday along with Mike Coupe. You know what? I'm into politics and I can tell you one thing. What I heard yesterday on Voice of America was political language. There is nothing that Nelson Chamisa said yesterday on Voice of America. There's nothing that he said on Voice of America that Mugabe didn't say exactly. We're a party of zero tolerance. We're a party, we do not condone violence in any way. We shall investigate in the next Chakuti hours and we shall make sure we deal with it. I have heard this all before. You see, words are easy for orators. Words are very, very easy for orators. So I'm tired of apologies. We want to see some actual action. You see, the proponents of violence, people like Charlton Wende, those guys are still in your structures. Those guys love violence. They're rabid dogs, see. And unless you deal with some of those elements, see, because this is what's going to take me to my next point, ladies and gentlemen, is that if you internet-loving people really believe that the people who are at that gathering are like you have a lot to be examined in your head. There's a lot to be examined in your head. The people who are out there are different to you and I in many, many respects. It felt like a football tournament. And the people who were there chanting and running around and blowing horns were actually felt like football hooligans. And I understand hooliganism because I'm a fucking hooligan. Justice says, so Kuda, if he didn't apologize. No, on VOA he apologized. But I'm saying to you that he didn't say anything that, for example, Emerson Mnangagwa hasn't said a million times. You see, these are things that politicians say. We have a script. That's what we do. We apologize and we placate the public with apologies. Just like when Thokozani Kupe was beaten up the first time, there was a placation of the apologies. We don't accept this, we don't accept that, we're going to investigate. They suspended 4 people and then immediately brought those 4 people back. All those 4 people were present yesterday when Thokozani Kupe was being stoned. I just want you to know that. I want you guys to know that. Are we yet ready for politics that does not involve hero worshipping to the extent of beating other people up? Are we at a stage now where, as a supporter of ZANU-PF, I could have come to also commemorate the death of Morgan Tsvangirai because he was a national icon? Opam Chunguri was actually booed yesterday. She was booed. Are we yet in a tolerant place? You see, these are the questions that we're going to have to ask ourselves. We have already answered the question about whether as a generation we care about constitutionalism. I mean, we marched and supported ED. We marched and supported ED. You see, Mandla will come and say ED has never apologized for killing Ndebele people. And that's not the point. You see, what you're trying to do is you're taking a micro point and then trying to add it to what I'm trying to say to my narrative and then make it sound like I'm saying something that's not correct. What I'm telling you now is Noah Manyika's team in Zimba were beaten up when they were trying to do the rally a couple of days ago. If you go to ED right now, ED will say these words. ZANU-PF is a party of peace. It's a party that tolerates no violence. We had nothing to do with the violence that took place. We shall investigate and we shall let you know. There's a formula to what ED will say when people in ZANU-PF behave in a certain way in his name. What I'm trying to explain to you guys is this. I understand that there are now people who are going to be doing things in Nelson Chamisa's name, and Nelson Chamisa does not endorse it. He doesn't even think about it. There's a lot of people who are going to behave in a certain way in the name of Nelson Chamisa when it's not Nelson Chamisa's fault. Leadership is going to be how he deals with people who behave in his name. As a leader, will he be able to get people who believe in him to believe in another way? As a leader, will he be able to get people who trust in him and who want him to be their champion to stop behaving like hooligans? See, that will show me if he's a good leader. Because if you're a leader who can transform the way your party behaves, you can transform the way the people around you think, then if you can transform the violence in your party and transform it all the way, if you can do that as a leader, then you can lead the nation. Robert Mugabe failed to do that. Robert Mugabe failed to get a hold of the people who were speaking in his name and doing things in his name. And hence he failed as a nation. Morgan Tsvangirai even. There was violence done in his name to Thokozani Kupe. And that was not nipped in the bud. That's the reason why the people who beat Thokozani Kupe were still in the high tent at Morgan Tsvangirai's funeral. They were all there. A good leader will be able to take those people and say, I know you believe in me, comrades. I know you believe in the cause. I know you believe in the generational mandate. I know you believe in Chamisa. But now I want you to do is make sure that you also believe in this, democracy, non-violence, in another way, alternative politics. You see, that's the chance. That's when we'll see if he's a good leader. And he has a few days to go. He has now got an opportunity in front of all of us to show the strength of his leadership. We now has an opportunity to show the strength of his leadership. This is not church Kuda. Chamisa cannot control and influence anyone. Well, if he cannot control and influence anyone, then he is not a good leader. The whole point of good leadership is that they should be able to lead people. And that's what I hope that he's going to prove. And I think he's a good man and he should try and lead the people. Anyway, Before I close off, let me take a couple of calls. Does anyone want to be added? I know there's a couple of loud mouths here. I'd love them to join. Let's see what they have to say. Let's bring some of our favorites on. Let's see what they have to say.
David German.
German, what do you say?
So I say my levels.
Bo German inini someone in Zimbabwe. Dineka kunyara mbichane zvakaitika in the last week. Urukunzwa. Tinoona vamwe vanhu vachifa mudzimwe nyika. And I genuinely feel in my heart. Sorry, I'll go back to English because we've got different people watching. But I see other places where people die. And I once saw Tony Blair, David Cameron, leaders from the opposite sides of the fence together commemorating the deaths of heroes and of people of influence in their country. What made us as Zimbabweans fail to do that, even on a party level? Why did we fail?
Ongozi that my boy tingori nika mentality kidukati no operator nako. Do the one country in Africa inoperata zviripo. Takangofanana ma blacks zvingori muropa wangu pamapati izvozvo. Saka chinhu chatifonga kutanga kutadzidza isusu pati chinhu chingori ma Africans, chinhu chingori ma blacks wangu. Nyangu wada kutarisa ndiudze nyika wani yaunoudza inyatso operata mushe.
So isusu tikati. So are we saying we're giving up as a generation? Are we saying that we live in you're living right now, you're in America, with people all over the world, where we're learning the best practices? Are you telling that as a generation we are failing to change the way we think? As the most literate nation in Africa.
Tinochinja seko Kuda tatapiwa mkana hapana wacho madhara acho anindi wachiri kumusoro dera chapinda sevapana takutonga katika tadzakazobvunza mubvunzo yo I'll be able to answer you right now mkana tatapiwa wangu madhara ndio angori kumusoro isusu tinokwada kuchinja sei I think chamisa azama papa even the way yanga achitaura pafinance kapapa the way panga chiprotector anonzani ko mukazi wezanyu anonzani sarake
Mai Mchinguri waona the way ataura nayo wataona even iri politics ka waona kuti munhu anogona kutaura nevanhu wangu saka ndiri kufunga kuti kana German vakapiwa mukana kava zvari kuda zvichaitika wangu ndipo pandiri kuona ende niye anga uchitaura ndakuvinga kayaya kusati yokuti chamisa vanhu vake ndo varova maikupe warifu kana maikupe varivo vahaya vanhu vaya kuti vaite chamisa loke bed wangu politics everybody anybody politics angawata kutamba jet wangu hapana unotrasta I mean, in sekuona kwandakaitaka vanhu ndovanotaura kuti leadership now is how do you lead people like that even to make sure to talk with them so that we can actually work and live together, because in a working democracy people iona zauti kana ku UK kana ku America kune vanhu ma democrat akarora ma republican knows vantu never they have homes but they can be on the other sides of the aisles, but why can we not get to that stage? Mrani mbokudza kakuda chida kutaura ine good way kuti tazoroho ineniwo ndikazoenda ku Zimbabwe apa pane level of understanding nemwe level yekuti unoona kuti munhu kudzidza kwake nokadai pane vamwe mabora ngoma kuti ukada kuvaudza kuti zvavakuita kavapedzera vapandukira iwe chamisa cannot say anything to those guys. The only thing he can say to guys no to violence haikona kuda kuvatsura kunge akuvatsamwira kunge chichichi because vanomupandukirawo 2 minutes and those people ndo vanhu vanotoda kuti vamuvhotere futi vavo manje mvesa kusora yake just finish off kana achitadza kucontrola vanhu then he cannot lead my country for my children. I would like a leader who can lead the country for my children. That's what I want. But mina ndimbokudza kapaya inini apa I think atimbowaregera because tensions were high because my party members angachifunga kuti tokozane kupe na mudzingu vangachida kuita sei vachida kuuraya party saka kana munhu osangagara nementality yakadaro neni ofunga ndakarohwa neJemerson ndaitochoverawo kuti guys ayo vada kuti kanganisira party vanhu vezano vatengwa nezano saka tensions were high wangu. Listen, my brother, I'm going to ask you a question. Yeah. Is Thokozani Kupe wrong to feel aggrieved? Is she wrong to feel robbed? Answer that question honestly. Is she wrong to feel that? Wrong. Kana chida democracy she's allowed kuti kana chida ukavapinde paballot zviite 50-50 zvipedzerana. I mean, but vanhu like I'm trying to say, ini kana chindudza I don't think she's wrong because I understand. Ndokuti zviite fair
but vana Germany vaya vari paground vachati muruda kuuraya party muruda kuzama kuita sei muri vanhu vezanu chichichi. Do you understand zvandiri kuzama kutaura wangu? Zvinodependa tiri kuexplainerani Kuda because vana Germany vakarohwa netukis vaya hapana zvavanovaudza shamwari ndivo notozopedzisira varohwa nebhodhoro racho.
So, do we want those people to be the deciders of our nations for the future of our nation?
Ndo vanhu vacho vanovhota tikaite se hapana pati sina violence. Mayouth ezano anga neviolence, kuMDC vane violence, zvagara zvingoripo. Ukaenda kumayouth ANC naye ane violence wangu. Chimbondiudza pati sina hapana vane jambanje. Everywhere kune jambanje wangu. Ndizvo zvingori Kuda. Maybe zvichachinja kana apiwa mukana wake mufesi kuti ambopinda but hakuna kusina jambanje wangu. Ndo pafeya Kuda. And it's too early kuti akwanise kucontrola crowd iyi. Chimbomusiya fesi ambopinda amborula nyaka kawaneka kana kuudza maJamani ati awa zvisaite zvemusino musikadaka vanomuteerera. Right now he needs every vote yaanoda mufesi ya kwakavatsiura 15 wakaenda nemavhoti edu idiyo ramba ripo. Uriona game racho.
All right, my brother. I get you. Thank you very much for joining me, my brother. I appreciate your insight. That's my brother Mandla. Does anybody else want to join, ladies and gentlemen? There's a lot of people want to join, so let me try and add some people. Okay, let me add a lady. Let's try and get the gender balance correct. Yeah. My sister, how you doing?
JP Kuda.
Please go straight in.
You know what? You said a few wise things. It's for me. I take Kuti. We shouldn't be people who are very reactive to news. We shouldn't be very reactive. We're a tabloid culture. We're a generation who don't think. What made the generation Yana Morgan, Nana, Bob, for those who believe Bob is a hero, it's because they followed the principles. They followed their own principles to the top. They fought for those principles and did it. We are a generation who have no principles that we are using to guide us to the promised land we seek. So if we don't establish the principles that will guide the Zimbabwe we want, we will never have the same type of success Vana Bob had, Vana Nkomo had.
Yeah.
And Chamisa, if he uses the same tactics that Bob used in the end of his rule, what he will end up with is a caricature of Bob. He can't go into power using the same mob psychology Bob used with his youth. Chamisa, if he's a good leader, he must know the generation that is uplifting him. We are a generation that hated my youths. The behavior of youths is something we hated. If he is to get into power, he must squash that from the get-go. He must be a leader who stands by protecting the things we hated. We hate youths being vigilante. We must agree on that. Vigilante activity, it shouldn't happen. We must fight for the prince. If you follow Chamisa, it does not mean fight in the gutters for Chamisa, even when you are wrong. But right now what Mandla is saying is, let us ignore the vigilante activity just to propel Chamisa. No, we are raising a leader that is going into power with vigilantes supporting him. When you next don't support Chamisa, he will have an army of vigilantes against you, Mandla. That 1 year you are saying, let's let him go in. When you now don't like him, he will have a strong vigilante support. You can't remove him. So right now, don't accept vigilante. Say, Chamisa, if you are right, if you are the rightful one in position, fight democratically and we will support you. We want a good leader. That is not a problem. But we don't want a leader that goes with bad principles. Mugabe did the same. He ignored it when his youths fought on his behalf. And then he would do the apologies. Why are you letting Chamisa allow vigilante activities? Those people who say he apologized on VO8. I watched the same same live. He didn't apologize. He went on the offensive. He was very obtuse. He was quoting acts of parliament that do not apply to the issue at hand. But because you enjoyed him quoting acts, sections of law, you believed him. Thokozani Kupe is
the funny thing that I found the most funny was when he first got on the phone. They said, we've got Advocate Nelson Chamisa on the line. And then the first thing he said, I'll translate, he said it in Shona, but he said, before you announce me, please announce me by my correct title.
Exactly.
What's my name? I mean, that's the first thing he said. I found that funny as well. You know what?
We are becoming selective in hearing.
Crazy.
We are selective in hearing. We wanted him to apologize. We ignored everything else he was saying. In the same speech he said, this is his words. He said, other people have left MDC before. Even these ones, Vanakupe, can leave. He doesn't care. He said those who have left before have died. Their parties have died. So a president who says he doesn't care about the building of his party, and he will only take with him people who agree with him, that is not democracy. He should be about building the MDC family. They have a good opportunity to do that. This selective democracy is annoying right now. Let's listen to the leaders as they speak. Let's not pick out the good things we want them to say and ignore the bad things. Chamisa, yes, the people love him. But let him go in with the principles of building a nation, not separating a nation. It won't work. It will not work. We can't fight ZANU-PF with ZANU-PF principles. It has never worked. Let's move on and establish what we like.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your insights, my sister. We're going to keep watching, hopefully, and let's talk some. Ladies and gentlemen, anyone who is a Nelson Chamisa supporter, I'd like to talk to you guys direct. Engage with some guys who are saying Chamisa chete. I would like to speak to some of you guys as well. For example, Angel Bird. Let me see if I can add you. Anyone who is a Chamisa supporter would like to speak. I'm trying to add somebody here who's a Chamisa supporter. If you're a Chamisa supporter, please say add and I'll add you. Wellington, let me see if I can add you. Be nice to talk to some of the Chamisa supporters. Okay, so the conspiracy theory, obviously, is that add for support for Chamisa. Let's get some Chamisa supporters on here. People are saying that what if those people who are beating up Kupe were PF plants? So, Mr. Tawanda, how you doing, bruv?
Good, thanks, man. How are you?
You said you're a Chamisa supporter. Can you let us know? What are your thoughts on what's happened?
I think in terms of the violence, I would just like to point out Panyaya Mai Kupe specifically. If you saw the bus stop TV clip, near 1 minute into that clip, one of the guys, the MDC guys that wears the Vanguard outfits, is the one that came and said, no, that Tumana Chamisa. And they said, you guys, we know you guys have power, Tumana president, please stop what you're doing and we'll sort this out. So it shows to me. Okay, so
let me stop you. Let me show you.
In the moment.
Hold up. I want you to now go on YouTube and find the clip of the guy who went to assault Kupe on the day of the alliance. I want you to see the same guy is the same guy who's stopping the crowd. Do you see that?
Yeah, no. That's, but who was
I'm not going to mention his name.
But who was in charge?
I'm not going to mention his name, but he's the same guy. He's the same guy who went to beat up Thokozani Kupe the time he alliance, and he's the same guy who then who sent to stop the thugs. I think that.
But who was in charge? Who was in charge of the party at the time? I mean, it's one of those situations that this is an unfortunate incident. Everyone can agree that violence is wrong, but you've been magnanimous enough to give ED 100 days. Chamisa hasn't even been in control of the power for 3 days.
We're not even talking. We're not yet talking about Chamisa's transformation of the MDC party. I hope to play an active role
in anything that Chamisa does, because I already, in front of you guys for many years, I've said that, Chamisa gets into Panyanga, I would definitely dedicate my time and efforts to make sure that we are part of that juggernaut and try and make sure that we can remove this junta. So you have to remember that I'm speaking from a position of being a supporter of the young man. However, what I'm not a supporter of is fucking fuckery. And what I don't want is a situation where we're allowing thugs to run around beating up people in the name of Chamisa.
But you do
us to be able to get an electoral mandate.
You yourself have said, Guti, the people that are at those rallies are very different from you and me, right? Now, I can't myself say I know what struggles those people go through every day. I can't say Guti ndokira kombi every day and chimaniswa nema purisa chiro wanema even nema windy footy. So I don't understand what level of acceptance of violence they have on a day-to-day, or what kind of violence they have to deal with on a day-to-day. So the thing about Mike Hooper, in my humble opinion, is that she's made the mistake of excluding herself from party processes to such an extent that she's now being seen as an outsider. Whereas if you have a battle to fight, if you thought that the appointment of the vice president was wrong, why don't you fight it?
All of that I accept, guys. And remember, we did a whole show about who is the rightful leader and constitutionalism and all that. Notice that today I have not even tried to touch on who's the rightful leader or not, because I believe the population, the public of MDC have chosen the person they want them to lead them. And I'm not a party of the MDC. I'm not a card-carrying member. So I'm staying out of their leadership wrangles. What I am saying, though, is that if there is a leadership contestation, at least let us not fuck up the woman who is saying I'm feeling begrudged. When the Secretary General of your party, someone you elected to be the bastion of sanity in your party, the SG says, we need to stop this, bury our legend, and then get back together and do a congress or some sort. If you then stone him for saying those things, then what is the difference between you and ZANU-PF? That's what I'm saying.
I agree with that, but at some point you've lost the people, and at some point you lose the people because you're no longer operating in the people's interest. At some point, if you've lost Harvest House, if you've lost the people, you have to ask yourself why. What's happened to get Monzora, who was won at Congress, who beat Chamisa Congress? What's happened between that time and today that has made it such that he can't control Mayuseu party when he's second, nominally second most powerful in the Harvest House?
I can tell you about Douglas Manzura, and I can tell you that one thing that I know about the man, because it's a personal judge of character, is that he's a good man. Now, and he's a principled man. And this is the difference between a generational shift that's happening, where Manzura, because of his legal background, he doesn't want to do things which are out of procedure. He's a very procedural guy. That's why he attended the meeting, the NC meeting in Harvest House. He attended it. But what he couldn't do was endorse the NC. He said, guys, this is not the time for us to be doing these kind of guans. So he's a procedural guy. So I don't even believe that he's picking sides per se. I just believe that because of procedure, he found himself in a position where he had to stand for the right thing. And by standing by the right thing, he was beaten up for it. And I think this is what I'm saying, guys. Let's at least speak against that. When somebody stands for the right thing, or even thinking they're doing the right thing, let's not see. For example, I have been very critical to the MDC at certain points, right? You have to understand that I was even critical of Morgan Tsvangirai many times, and rightfully so. I still hold a lot of my original assertions. It doesn't take away from his influence in democracy or his fight or how much miscarriages of justice. However, when I went to the gathering at Freedom Square, nobody beat me up. Nobody beat me up. In fact, everyone was bigger. Niggas saying going to the high 10. Why is it that their deputy president got beaten up? That's what I'm saying with the guys. We need to have some common sense now.
Yeah,
a coup, not a coup, doesn't matter. But at least as a leader, as the leader that I think he's the man that I believe he is, he must now take control of this nonsense situation and say, right, this has to stop. Even if it means, as a leader, I'm confident enough in the support from the people that I'm willing to go to an extraordinary Congress next week, chayo. Moya may sit off with who you want as leader to move forward. That's the kind of leadership I would like to see.
That's what we want. We want him to to a Congress and resoundingly beat everyone, and then we can just calm down and relax and get on with this. But right now,
thank you. That's all I want.
There's nothing that he did in the moment within his powers that he didn't. There's nothing he didn't do to stop that violence. In the moment, I'm just saying that video shows clear evidence that on the day, before the Voice of America, before all of this, the situation was already resolved on that day. So someone came to the tent and said, all right, cheers.
I appreciate you participating. Guys, I got a lot of people who like to participate. I'm literally adding you in the order that you've asked to be added. So Arnold is next. So let me add Arnold. So it's pretty much Arnold is not addable. Okay, we got Tawanda, who's a ZANU-PF supporter. I know him as a ZANU-PF supporter. He wants to be added. Okay, guys, I'm gonna try and add you once. If he doesn't agree, then I move on to the next person. Chamisa, power hungry. I mean, guys, we, as a generation, we like to spew. We just like to spew things. Why do we do that? Okay, guys, please. Who wants to be added to the next? Add Todd. Todd wants to be added. Everyone, I tried to add just now. Your things refused. I don't know if they're expired or not. So if you need to be added, click add again, and I will add you on the. Mr. Todd, how are you doing?
Mr. Kuda, what do you say?
Tiri Boshaman, I hope you've parked and you're parked and you're ready to talk to us.
I'm parking now, and I'm ready to talk. Kuda, we're in a difficult situation, simply because the violence that's condoned by the Zimbabwean population now is really, really pathetic. It's appalling. Violence against anyone or towards anyone is unacceptable. And I'm actually surprised at some of your callers who are saying, Kutahanzi, we don't want to tell these violent youths off because we might lose their votes. What you're effectively doing is breeding a second ZANU-PF, which is much stronger, much bigger than the original Mugabe ZANU-PF, which is going to be more violent. These guys are younger. Chamisa is 40, you understand? Chamisa, if he lives as long as Robert Mugabe, you're going to have 50-something years of that kind of treatment. And a lot of people still don't understand political language. And on VOA, Chamisa did not apologize. He says, I don't have the facts, so I'm apologizing without the facts, which effectively is not an apology. Is effectively saying, I'm just saying what you want me to say, but I have my side, I have my people that I have to support. And as you rightfully say, the people that meted violence to Thokozani Kupe were the very people in the VIP tent, which I fail to understand. Why are they being rewarded and why is she being kicked out? And the fact that her life was at risk. This is a leader, a deputy president, elected by the people of the MDC. And they're treating her like an outcast. It's unacceptable. He should be willing to bite the bullet and say, look, guys, it's unacceptable. Even though we're having our squabbles, respect the office of vice president. Because what will happen is the MDC will choose someone else. If Chamisa contests against Monzora has beaten Chamisa before. And he could beat him again if he wants to go for president, you understand? So Chamisa will end up as vice president. And if he allows his vice presidents right now to be attacked by people, who's going to protect him? No one will be able to protect him because he's setting a precedence. You understand? And as you rightfully say, I mean, like, the violence has grown up in ZANU-PF. We've seen it in ZANU-PF. We experienced it when we went to Zimba, as rightfully say. And now that same violence is what I witnessed in the MDC. People like Wicknell said, I couldn't go and bury President Morgan Tsvangirai because of incidents like that could happen. And he was right. Because first I thought, no, this guy is just being pompous and he doesn't want to associate. But when I witnessed MDC people attacking their own vice president, what more would they do to an outsider? What more would they do to a ZANU-PF person? Look at what they did to that lady, the representative of ZANU-PF. You know, it's so wrong. And what I don't understand is why people are just saying Chamisa. I'm not voting for Chamisa for my own personal reasons, but you need to look at what is it he's bringing to the table. Can he control the party? From what I've seen so far, he cannot control the party. So control the country. If you can't control the MDC, you can't control the country. It's that simple, you know.
Well, but this is why, I mean, this is why I must always also be righteous and say this. I'm a big supporter of Nelson Chamisa. I think he's a good guy. But he now has an opportunity to win people like me over by showing his actual leadership skills in the next couple of weeks. He has a window of opportunity. Now, I don't think he needs people like me, and I want to be very, very clear about this. He doesn't necessarily need the internet generation to vote for him, because he's got a large amount of people on the streets who love him, who don't have bundles like you and I do. So I don't think he necessarily needs to win us over. And I mean, he could gladly say, "I know fuck Kuda Anabas," which is fine. But what I'm saying is that if he does want to win a broad spec of people to support him in the next coming election, which he will need to win in areas like where I live, in our constituencies like Mount Pleasant, we're going to have to see him do something that none of these leaders before have managed to do, which is control your youthies, control the people who are giving you backs, control the media, control the fake news, and be an actual lead. And if he does that, he has all our support. And I think his alliance becomes a stronger unit when he manages to win cross-party and cross-board support. Because what we need to do is take out the junta. But what we can't do is just say, because you're young, we're going to let you give you the mandate. I don't believe that's going to be acceptable now for a generation to just vote in somebody because it's young. I think I was a big preacher of that, but I've now realized that that's actually myopic. It's very short-sighted. We need to be scrutinizing them by their...
Yeah, if you look at it, our parents voted for Mugabe because he's black. You understand? We wanted the white people out, so we just vote for a black man. You understand? We're 37 years down the line, and we are far worse.
Todd has now frozen. Sorry, Todd. I think Todd was trying to say that we're now 37 years down the line and we're far worse off. I think Todd is absolutely right. Sorry, Todd. I'm going to try and add you again. It's not agreeing. Let me add Josephine. Josephine, I'm trying to add you now.